Bryce, I can't guarantee the greatest podcast that's ever occurred today. I can't.
This is an about face from you, Jeff.
I don't know. Have I ever guaranteed the greatest podcast on earth? Come on, come all, come listen to this 1,000 viewer podcast. It's actually the best one. You just didn't know. I tell you what, this is what I'll guarantee. Even when I am not at 100%, it's still going to be better than 99% of your other podcasts. Get out of here, other podcasts, because it's time for the RageSelect podcast here on RageSelect. I'm a hungover Jeff.
I am Bryce. All other podcasts can go get 99 and 1 more % invisible as far as we're concerned.
Damn right. Yep, that's right. Yeah. So, how's it going, Bryce?
Good. I didn't realize you were a little under the weather today. I didn't realize you had the hair of the dog on your back.
Well,
is that what people say? Does anybody say that?
Normally on a Friday night, I tell everybody this. Friday night is my beer and anime night. I got 7 beers, I got 7 animes. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch all the beers. I'm going to drink all the animes. I'm going to make a dish of salmon. I'm going to use my rice cooker. It's great. It's a great night. But sometimes I have to record on Fridays, and sometimes those recordings go really late. And so then it's I'm not going to get started drinking these beers until 11 o'clock. And then I don't get done with the beers until 4 in the morning. And then I get enough sleep. And then I got to drink all this coffee to get me out of it. And that makes me kind of a crazy person. And I don't know. It's a whole thing that's boring and nobody wants to listen to that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone's pulling for you, Jeff.
Okay.
Hopefully you can make it through this podcast without... yardsing everywhere.
Anyway, we have a really weird bunch of news this week. It's I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, Bryce, when you and I record, it's either really strong theme or just fucking looking through the kaleidoscope. Yep. But before we get to that, I have a movie that I would like to talk about that I watched last week. It was a movie about a very treasured Nintendo property, something that everybody's played, that's changed the world. It was wonderful. Everybody's talking about it. It was the Tetris movie on Apple Plus.
Hey.
So
you dig it?
I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. The thing is that they felt the need. There were 2 things. I saw people kind of complaining about it, and I was looking at the complaints, and there are 2 things to know about this movie going in. One is that they have all of this really weird 8-bit digital imagery on the screen. They refer to the main characters like player 1, and they're level 2, and they'll show these weird kind of 8-bit things. And I don't really think it was necessary, but it didn't bother me because it wasn't huge. The other thing is that they did feel the need to zhuzh up this story. I mean, I get my rocks off talking about the Microsoft Activision acquisition every week. So I would have been fine with the boring story, but they added in this kind of KGB nefarious subplot that, as far as reports go, just didn't happen in the real world. There's a mustache twirling KGB guy in a black leather trench coat that's working behind the scenes against our American entrepreneur who's just trying to bring a hardworking Russian man's game to the world. But he
never that force never existed. That was not just his whole cloth.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't happen. Wow. There's a car chase at the end of the Tetris movie. And there were no car chases in the licensing of Tetris. But
yeah, I guess if you have to have a 3-act structure, you probably do have to. If what you're going to fluff up is the ending, so that there's a big pop at the end. Okay.
Yeah, it's. I would have been fine if they would have just given the Tetris movie to the guy that did Chernobyl. Just have it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, and this is not a documentary or even meant to be, like a documentary. So I can understand, because even with Chernobyl, they did. The female scientist in that show is an amalgamation of a dozen real people.
Yeah.
So you do have to make tweaks and changes. I mean, hell, The Last of Us. I mean, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have been a documentary.
I mean, the thing is that the regardless of the silly spy intrigue, like the actual core of the story is real, where it was like this American guy that bought the Japanese rights for Tetris, and then he went to Nintendo in Japan and he tried to convince them to put it on like the Game Boy as a pack-in title. But see, then there was a really weird thing. So like, just to let everybody know, this is the abridged story of Tetris. There was like this guy that was a guy that would go to the Eastern Bloc and buy video game rights, and he bought the rights to Tetris, and then he sold them to a British conglomerate that was going to have the rights for the whole thing. And except for the Japanese rights that this guy bought from that company at like the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and then he went to Nintendo and he did this stuff. Well, it turned out at the end of the day that like the guy that bought the original rights, he didn't actually buy the rights that he thought he did. And so what it all kind of comes down to is eventually you have like this American guy and this British corporation and this other guy, and they're all in Russia trying to convince the Elorg in Russia to sell them the rights. And so, it's an interesting story. And there's actually a story that comes after that where Nintendo has like a court case in America for the US rights to Tetris. And there's like video game rights and computer rights and arcade rights and handheld rights. And so, it's a big trade negotiation movie.
And like Tetris, like that, you're right. Like the boring details of that are actually really interesting. Maybe there already is a number of documentaries about Tetris versus no one having done an adaptation or a mostly based on true events rendition. So I that's interesting. I'm glad to hear. And also, it's a movie. It's not a series.
Yeah.
I can't. Too many series. Make movies, please. Just make a movies. Make a movie, please.
You tired of your 8-part, 1.5 hour 8-part series, Bryce?
And I don't like movies, Jeff. I'm not a movie guy. I'm a series guy. I like series. But
well, I guess on that note, have you seen a good series recently you want to talk about?
I saw a good movie recently.
Oh.
Maybe you talked. I wonder if you talked about it last week. The recent Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves film.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really, really good movie.
Is it?
It's really funny. It doesn't. I'll tell you now. Like, there's not a bit where people are playing a tabletop game.
Okay.
It's not like the Lego Movie where we're actually just doing like, it does seem like it's trying to be in the world, which is like just big on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really funny. It has a ton of like really good like I can't stress this enough, Jeff. It's really fucking funny.
Just briefly, that's something to say in today's day and age, because a lot of times you're presented a thing and the internet's like, oh my god, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen, and you go and you watch it and you're just like, really? I guess sure.
Yeah, the people who wrote Game Night from a few years ago, the Jason Bateman film,
mm-hmm.
Which is equally like really funny and really dense.
Okay.
You have like a really great cast. It's only like 100 minutes or something. It's not even super long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good. It's sweet, a lot of emotions. I think they were out there talking about, we didn't want to make this a franchise, and if we came back, we would probably do it with the same people. But I think you can do a lot with this if this is like the way that you're going to handle it. Is like make it a comedy, but not necessarily the MCU Joss Whedon voice of like it's all quips,
right? No one's taking anything seriously. Oh boy, this again, another red dragon. I remember the last one.
They do find bits to be irreverent and silly in a really good way. So I didn't even like really know this movie was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, we went out as a group to watch this. Before that, I was like, this is a movie? This is even a thing? And I do like an entertainment show, Jeff. Like I do Court Killers every week. I don't know how I missed it. But it was really great.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. I like that's one of those ones where I feel like it's I could very much see what you're saying, because it's kind of like the Puss in Boots movie, right? Where it was a thing that was like, I'm not really all that interested in it, and then people will come to you and they'll be like, actually, this is a really good movie, and then enough people say that, and you're like, okay, maybe I should go out there and take a look. So,
I get the feeling that the Paddington movies are like that too. So those are just like surprisingly amazing films.
Yeah,
I gotta dive in.
Yep.
Surprising dive in.
Surprising dives. Maybe you're gonna. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're a movie guy now. Maybe there's too many series, and you're just gonna become a cinephile. You're gonna have your review of Metropolis next week, and then
I've seen Metropolis. Metropolis fucking sucks. Metropolis is like 4 hours long. Fritz Land, get the fuck out of here.
Look at these hot takes. He's got hot takes about old movies. I think you're ready. You've got a camera, you've got a lighting setup, you got hot takes about old movies. You're ready for the internet, Bryce. Like you're ready to go. Oh man. Well, speaking of things that the internet is ready for,
Good save.
Yeah. Overwatch 2.
They're ready for the podcast.
They're ready for we got some new folks in Overwatch 2. It should be telling that this was I mean, normally I like to try to start the week off with the biggest news of the week. There was nothing big this week, so we're hodgepodging it. But they announced a new character. I feel like this used to be a lot bigger. Maybe I just wanted to take this as an opportunity to bitch and moan about the fact that they used to make those really cool animated shorts for Overwatch, and now it's all this like motion comic stuff, and I'm like, come on. But no, this new character is called Lifeweaver. He's a Thai healing hero that's like kind of, his backstory is he was like from the place that Symmetra is from, but he was like, they're all too stuck up with their polygons and their lines and angles, and so I'm going to go out and water the world and learn about cyber flowers. And so he's got a big cyber flower on his back, and he's a new support hero. He's pretty fabulous. Like that, we'll get into that a little bit later. But they also showed off. They had a little gameplay trailer. Apparently, he's got just like a direct heal, and then he's got a power where you can grab one of your teammates and while they're shielded, drag them back over to you. So like if somebody gets too far away from the team, you can kind of pull them back. And then another one where you can lift up. Either you make like a platform that goes up in the air that can be used to raise. I saw some gameplay where he was raising himself up, and then I also saw some stuff where, like in this gameplay demo, you see him lift up an Orisa player that is getting ready to do their ult, so they're just doing their ult in the air and it just cancels it out. And then his ult is like a big it's like a big tree that like covers the team from above and then also heals everybody that's underneath it, as kind of like a temporary bunker almost. So
okay,
yeah, yeah.
Are you overwatching, Jeff? Are you overing the watch?
No, never since they changed it to more of like a DPS thing, as opposed to the kind of hero shooter stuff that it started out as. I mean, I've kind of tried a little bit, but the thing is that it's like I have this theory that the best time in the world to play any online shooter game or any competitive game is like within the first 9 months when it comes out, when everybody's learning the meta. There is no meta. People don't yell at you for playing a character that you want to play. Sooner or later, every online multiplayer game is going to be a thing that everybody takes, in my opinion, way too seriously. And so at that point, when you have people that have been playing nothing but that game for months and getting really good at it, then it's the difference between playing somebody who's really, really good at like a fighting game and somebody who's like pretty good at a fighting game. Like you don't want to play somebody who doesn't know how to play it, but you want to play somebody that knows like how to throw a fireball and like when to do a dragon punch, right? But I don't want to play the people online who are just like playing mind games with each other when the whole thing elevates to some kind of like fucking Turing test prisoner dilemma bullshit.
It's interesting that it will be interesting to see what how much pool Overwatch or Overwatch 2 has in terms of attracting people with new characters. There's only been more competition in the hero shooter space since Overwatch and Overwatch 2 have hit the scene. And granted, I'm not exactly tied into like Valorant or any of that stuff either, but this is like having characters and having them be, I don't know, more than just JPEGs on a screen, having them have a story or a semblance of a story is like a thing Overwatch excels at that I think some of these other games can't, just because all I'm talking about here is marketing. It's all marketing stuff.
Right.
But that's a part of it. And I wonder how the strategy changes for Overwatch 2 with more competition, right? Like you mentioned, not doing the big CGI cinematics anymore, but kind of the motion comics style, which I can tell you is going to be cheaper for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think that for me, I'm interested. They're still supposed to be creating PvE Overwatch 2 content. Like they announced that when they announced Overwatch 2 that they were going to have like a actual story driven like narrative single player content in the game. And as I don't know if it's just supposed to be more of those bot maps that they had for like the anniversary stuff. The impression I got was it was supposed to be more than that. It was supposed to be like actually pushing the story forward, because there was an article that I was reading about this new character Lifeweaver, and like one of the big things that they're pushing with Lifeweaver is that he is what's the thing when you're attracted to everybody? Pansexual.
Openly pansexual.
Yeah, and in fact, like not to judge a book by its cover, but the character is fabulous. He's got this like kind of open down to his navel like top, and he's got all this kind of like real fab long Fabio hair and a lot of
very big Fabio vibes.
Pink coating, to a lot of his stuff. They talked a lot about how, so this is an interesting article talking a lot about Overwatch's kind of history with the queer community in general, and how like a lot of the story, a lot of the identity of the characters has moved from things like those shorts into like comics and like stories on the website and like stuff that people playing the game wouldn't necessarily run into, like the fact that was it last year or the year before when they had they established Tracer is a lesbian, and there was an even deeper cut where Soldier 76 was supposed to be in a gay relationship with a guy for a while, but like none of that comes through really in the game as much. And so they talked about how, I mean, I don't know if this is the sort of thing that appeals to people because I stay in my house and drink beer. But apparently this character is going to be like a big old flirt. Like he's going to have a bunch of voice lines where he's hitting on all the other characters in the game, and they're going to have responses. And this is, I think, a way that they're hoping to bring like this kind of sexual identity into the forefront, as opposed to just kind of the coding on the art design of the character plus a bunch of stories that are on the website, or a comic book that comes out along the way, or a digital slideshow or whatever. And I don't know if that matters as much anymore. Like I'd be really interested to hear. I mean, I know you don't really play Overwatch, but the thing is that I feel like when Overwatch first launched, one of the things it was like a really big roster of characters, so everybody could find something that they identified with, plus an online multiplayer game that didn't require Call of Duty reflexes. It didn't require the time commitment that something like Battlefield or Call of Duty did in order to have a good time, right? You could play Reinhardt, you could play Mercy, and you didn't have to learn how to shoot people, as long as you were able to keep up with the healing type of thing. But as they've transitioned a lot of the game over to more of a competitive thing to keep up with the Overwatch League, I feel like it's not enough just to have diverse characters. You also have to have the accessibility that makes somebody who doesn't even play a first-person shooter feel comfortable getting into a game. And I don't know that I think that might have gone a little bit by the wayside these days. I mean, I don't know. I've heard stories of people that will go into a game and pick like a character that's bad for the meta because it's like their favorite character, and then people will yell at them in voice comms and tell them, like, you know, ridicule them for why the hell are you doing this, blah 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 blah. I wouldn't know because I keep my voice comms turned off, but I feel like the shift has made it so I'm not sure that this. I don't really know that this. I'm not sure if this attempt at what I would assume is inclusion on Activision Blizzard's part is enough of a draw to get people into a game that requires so much of an investment. I don't know. That's what I was kind of thinking about.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. That's you're threw a heavy idea on me there, Jeff.
Okay.
As far as like this character and him being openly pansexual ahead of time, here's the thing. Like, I don't even. I'm not in the Overwatch and Overwatch 2 space, so you don't need me to. I'm going to be redundant now, but
right.
I don't know what the story is going on here. I know that they do a lot to like have voice lines where different heroes saying different things to different heroes are like specific, and that is a part of the environmental context. I don't know what to do with that facet of the story. You know, I understand like Blizzard probably have historical concerns about how these types of characters have been represented in the past, and so of course they're going to make adjustments to their strategy when it comes to doing that. I mean, at the same time, this is. How long ago was it we were talking about the fucking diversity radar?
Oh yeah.
ABK was using.
Yep.
Like at some point, like, okay, hey, representation, but also, so is this like a new slice of the pie, and where does this fall in your pie? Granted, that whole story was more nuanced and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
But it just makes me feel like I don't know what you want me to do with this.
Right.
Granted, I'm not pansexual either, so there's my queerness only extends to what I feel comfortable relating to.
Sure.
To speaking about. So that's a little bit how I'm like, and it's hard not to look at like this combination, right, of the very handsome Lothario with the like actually Fabio's hair and actually Fabio's open exposed chest and pec cleavage, and they're pansexual and they're flirting with everyone all the time, and I don't know the answer to this, but is that even good representation? Is this Pepe Le Pew painted pink? Like, I don't know, Jeff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's not. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm not even saying it's a bad strategy. I'm saying I'm on the outside and I don't exactly see how we get from point A to point B completely.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Well, here, let's answer an easier question. Here's an easier question.
Okay, think of it.
So on the gameplay on the beta server, I mentioned that this character has the ability to pull teammates into locations. We are already seeing on the beta server this character pulling teammates over the edge of the map to their death without. So it's really interesting to see this use of griefing your own team by your support person, and to think that I guess this is just one of those things where I'm like, I'm sure that this is something that Blizzard will attempt to work through. I don't know, maybe they'll end up changing the power if they can't figure out a way to make it work, but it does seem to me like the sort of thing that it's like, you guys probably should have seen this one fucking coming when you created a character.
Looks bad too. You're playing a clip and there's a ton of these clips of people doing it. It's like there's no aftertouch or no like air guiding at all. Wow.
Yep.
They have to fix that.
Yep.
They need to fix that.
Yep. I'm not sure how you do that, but yeah, it feels like you you probably should have seen that one coming. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, what do you do with it?
There's been a couple of characters in the past that have kind of had some similar issues, but like, it's like, oh, if a Mei puts up an ice wall in front of to grief your own team, eventually you can either go around it or you can bust it up with your teammates, right? If Symmetra puts a teleporter that goes to a screwy place, you don't have to use the teleporter, but this is something where you literally don't have any choice. Like in this article describing it, they talked about maybe there's an adding like a consent option, essentially, that like a thing that comes up saying like Lifeweaver wants to pull you, would you will you be pulled, and you can say yes or no. But I don't think that really works in a game as fast paced as Overwatch.
That doesn't, yeah, you can't, and you can't get into that, like that's, you can't add it. And then fucking imagine if they do like a press F to consent button. Like it can't get even out of the sketch phase with that. That's dangerous talk.
I agree. Let's see. I actually I wanted to change this up a little bit. I wanted to ask you, did you see any of the April Fool's stuff that happened? We probably should have led off with this because we did have April Fool's last week. I saw
only a little bit. Yeah, we were doing a big event on April Fool's, so I didn't see anything. And when I went back to look online at the end of the day, it didn't seem like there had been much fooling going on.
This wrap up on Kotaku is terrible. I was looking at it earlier, but there was a lot more than I thought. Like some of this opening stuff is stupid, but like there was a pretend dating game for the Disgaea series with all the protagonists from the different Disgaea series that turned out to be fake. There was Genshin Impact cat characters. There was the Among Us does a lot of this stuff, and this year it was you turn all the people into horses, and then you're supposed to wrangle them horses.
Which I think they've done that before too. This horse mode where all the little bean guys have 4 legs.
Razer had an okay one where they had the Razer, where it's a mouse. It looks like a mouse, but it's actually just an electric razor that you can with RGB lights and like click buttons and a click wheel on it. I thought that one was pretty fun.
Be careful because they that COVID mask that they made a few years ago. They say that they're gonna make them. I don't know.
They did. They were terrible. I watched YouTubers like review them. They were just like, dude, no, these are awful. There was some of these are stupid. Like this was a Street Fighter 6 had like a guy that wired up a controller so that his cat could bat around a thing that then pushed buttons in Street Fighter, but it's obviously fake and it doesn't even look all that real. But League of Legends had hats. Sonic, this actually there was I had this like later down, but there was a free Sonic the Hedgehog visual novel that's called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's like Amy has invited all the Sonic friends to a train for a murder mystery party, but the murder turned real, and now you got to figure out who killed Sonic the Hedgehog.
So good,
and it's free.
I'm like doing a free little visual, like it's great. That's I think the one like really strong place for April Fool's jokes. Yeah, is like that's perfect. It's small, it's free. I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty easy to get together. Gets paid for some good illustrations and stuff. And I've heard it's good. I've heard it's like really, really good too.
Yeah, I played it with my friend Amanda. In fact, that video will be coming out earlier the same day that this is coming out. So if y'all want to see, you can go check it out. What Larian said that they were talking about how people like to cheese Baldur's Gate 3, and so they basically put out a video where the main character is just a rolling block of cheese.
Okay, yeah.
There was something about Minecraft. Voting on stuff, and then Rocket League had like a big egg thing, and Power Wash Simulator had like a Vampire Survivor screenshot that made it look like there was going to have a Vampire Survivor mode. I wouldn't actually be surprised if that one doesn't turn out to be real, because Vampire Survivors is like the sort of thing that doesn't seem to me like it's going to take a shitload of programming to rip off. Like, probably not anything you make isn't going to be as good as Vampire Survivors because of how much time that guy has put into that game. But you could make an April Fool's knockoff that you could download for free without too much investment.
They're still making DLC for Vampire Survivors.
That's true.
And like new characters and stuff. I bet they'll find a way to work a Shovel Knight in there.
Because I always said, because Power Wash Simulator had the Tomb Raider DLC, which I played and was really fun, and then the Final Fantasy VII DLC that I played that was really fun, because Power Wash Simulator owns. Lastly, though, also, this was weird. ASUS put out this... It was like an April Fool's joke about this Ally, get it, Ally, this handheld, like...
Oh.
I didn't get that one either until it was pointed out to me. So that it's like this Steam Deck competitor that they're making that has like... like this custom AMD chip. It's supposed to run games like 120 frames per second. It's supposed to be a little bit more. It's basically like a competitor for the Steam Deck that Asus is making. And I know that they've made some handheld stuff before. The thing is that they announced this on April Fool's, but then like 2 days later, it was on Linus Tech Tips. Like this is an actual thing. This is an actual product. And I don't know. Like, I've seen a lot of articles talking about, like, this is the worst way that you could have done this because people wouldn't know that it was for real. They would just think it was a joke. I don't know. I'm kind of split on that because we're now I feel like we've been through enough years with the video game and tech industry specifically where April Fool's stuff turns out to be real. Like, sometimes it's a joke.
Fucking free focus testing. Honestly.
Yeah. And sometimes it ends up being an actual honest to God for real thing. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people that get the what you're looking at. Like, are there going to be that many people who watch this video and they're like, funny April Fool's joke, and then they're just like, I guess that wasn't real, and then they see it at Best Buy and they're like, I guess that's still an April Fool's joke. They see ads for it on a website and they're like, wow, this April Fool's joke is just going super far. Like, I don't know if I would necessarily think it's going to be that big of a problem. But
for like the actual device, it seems interesting. Like, if the cost, I guess it depends on where this comes down on cost. Is this supposed to be cheaper than a Steam Deck, or is it going to be a premium Steam Deck? The Steam Deck's getting up there. And hey, if you say, oh, we got a new one and it's more up to date and it's better and whatever and X, Y, and Z, then maybe you can sell people on it. And who knows? Like, maybe there is a world for cheaper versions of the Steam Deck or something. But we'll have to see what these manufacturers do. A lot of these laptop manufacturers are used to taking a motherboard and building a piece of plastic around it. So let's see if they make the motherboards first.
Yeah. I think the thing is that I think it's interesting to see that. I feel like there used to be a very strong mobile gaming market, right? Like, you used to have the 3DS and the PSP, and well, I mean, people, maybe people like PSP, maybe people fondly remember the Vita, whatever.
The Vita was good. Okay, I'm not gonna be that guy.
3DS, DS, DSi, the GBA. There used to be like a whole separate set of handheld stuff, and now it's like, and then it kind of just fell out of favor, and then the Switch came out and it was like, okay, well, now we're living in a world after the Switch and the Steam Deck where it's like, well, now the primary console is portable, so there aren't two tracks, right? So you can buy Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC, and then you can play it on the Steam Deck. You don't have to have the crappy handheld version. You can play Cyberpunk on your Asus, your ROG Ally, and so I feel like. And part of this might be, I don't know, Bryce, what do you think about this idea? Part of this might also be the fact that right after the Switch came out, we had this huge flood of Chinese retro emulator handhelds, things that could run like all the way up to like PS1, and like Dolphin emulators and stuff like that. And that maybe that whole trend has given the industry enough practice on getting something that's able to do relatively reasonable PC performance on a less than 1080p screen that you can hold in your hand. Because I don't know, like looking at this earlier, this Linus Tech Tips video, like it's a cool looking device, and apparently it's not. The one thing I watched this video, and the one thing that he was talking about was that it's nowhere near as loud as the Steam Deck because they've put a lot of work into like heat dissipation without having to have a fan kicked up to high, the whole time. So,
I think the thing that Steam and Valve have in this space is that they have Steam, which is you just get a platform holder advantage on that, but also you have the Steam Deck compatibility thing, which we'll talk a little bit about later too. But that is, and that's not their first time trying to have some sort of standardized, Steam machines. Remember? These are benchmark SKUs. So for Steam, by getting to integrate and say, hey, we make this piece of hardware, this game, we checked it, it will work out right out of the thing. It's still just really, really powerful. The fact that Steam has over a decade to maybe 2 decades, has all of the PC games forever. I think that's a big advantage for them, especially in the high-end space. But I can absolutely see something that is the size of this ROG Ally or the size of a Steam Deck, but much cheaper, an emulation deck, right? That is literally just, this is made to run up to PS1 games or something, and I think there's space for that. I don't know about space for another high-end tablet computer though. I don't know.
I think it's also.
Do you think it can get crowded out?
The thing is that I think it really depends on the price. Like it super duper duper depends on the price. Like if they can, the big thing with the Steam Deck is that it's a really good cost benefit ratio right now. And the thing is that I think that whenever you're trying to, whenever you're trying to directly compete with something that's as popular as something like the Steam Deck, the first thing you got to do is knock $50 off the MSRP of the Steam Deck and say, like, here's the slightly cheaper version, so that when you're out there and you're like, I don't quite have the money for a Steam Deck, but like this thing seems like it'll work, that you can get it out there. A lot of times, though, I feel like companies end up going in the opposite direction, where if this is $100 more than a Steam Deck, then it's like, well, it may work better. It may actually be worth $100 more than a Steam Deck, but people are probably going to gravitate towards the more cost efficient, they're gonna head for what's cheaper for the performance. So
price is a huge factor for everybody.
Yeah,
price is a major factor, especially in tech.
Yeah. So the big thing is, I think that this also has the it's got the a Thunderbolt or a Thunderbolt-ish connector where you can connect this thing to basically an external enclosure that you could then put like a big fat video card into, and then run the whole thing wirelessly, like through a better video card, which I've actually seen people hack into the Steam Deck. But because there's the USB-C Thunderbolt is fast enough that you can, if a system has a Thunderbolt port, you can hook that system up to an external graphics card, and the bus speed is fast enough that it can literally do the video rendering on a like a 3090 in an enclosure at real time and output it, adding that performance to whatever's in there. Look, some laptops can do this. I wasn't aware of this until like a year ago, and I was like, holy shit. But it looks like this also has some kind of custom solution for like hooking it up to another video card, hooking up to the TV, which I think it would be interesting if somebody like Steam or even Asus was able to make a solution that was like, here is a 3090 desktop that also has a component like a switch that you could take out of it, but when you plug it into the TV, you could render it 4K with everything set to ultra with DLSS turned on, and then use a controller to play on it. But I don't know. That may end up being too expensive for the enthusiast crowd.
And especially like that idea is targeting enthusiasts, and enthusiasts are going to be the ones who will know, like, nah, like I'll get a home theater PC or I'll get a desktop and just plug it up to my TV or plug it up to a nice monitor.
Yeah.
And if I need to be portable, then either you go with the phone because you have a phone, or maybe you just go Steam Deck and remote it. I don't know. There's a lot of I'm imagining a lot of cables, a lot of cabling, which makes this tough because enthusiasts love cabling, but maybe don't want cables hanging around.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or it's
hard to say. Well, speaking of portable devices, we also got this weird report this week that Sony might be making this new portable device called the Q Lite, or this is like an internal code name. And this is like, so people are like, oh, is it PSP 2? Is it a Vita 2? And it's like, no, according to these reports, it's going to be a device that is specifically made to use the PS5 streaming from a PS5 over your home network to a handheld device. So the game will have to be running on your PS5, and this will just basically be a streaming receiver that passes control inputs back and forth. It's funny. Whenever I read a story like this and I think about it, I'm just like, okay, well, how much do you want for that, Sony? Because I would give you maybe $100 to fuck around with it, but probably not that much more than that, because, well, mostly because last year they put out this Backbone peripheral that lets you put a cell phone into a PS5 controller.
That's a third party thing.
okay.
That's a third party. That thing is cool, but that is a third party device for the remote. I mean, it is like an official partner thing, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but all the descriptions sound like it's like a PS5 controller that has the middle split apart, has a big screen, like everything, right? And I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask for this. I don't leave the house. I don't go anywhere. And the room that I sit in holds my PS5 and my PC and my two fucking huge monitors and all the bullshit in the world right next to my gaming chair. Bryce, what do you think? Does this have any use cases for you? I mean,
First off, I don't particularly trust this report.
Okay.
This one small website is saying one very tiny thing about the idea of this handheld.
Yeah.
So that's my asterisk on this. I think your head is in the right place. Like, I think if they have a $100 or $150 device, but see, the problem is, the thing I'm about to describe is just an Android tablet, or is just is a small Android phone with these buttons and no modem and no big hard drive chip. Like I can, like, it's Sony. Sony doesn't make cheap shit. Like, that's the problem. Is they're not going to make anything that costs $100.
Right.
If you had $100 version of this thing, it would literally be the DualSense remote with a tiny fucking screen on it.
Yeah.
Like, just because of how much those controllers cost. So the idea that I don't know, but with the remote play that they already have, I equally agree that it doesn't make sense, the thing that they're reporting in this report.
Yeah.
That they would make some brand new device in lieu of a cheap tablet or the mobile apps that they already have.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Limited. Of course, the only reason that I put any real stock in this is because it also does sound like the sort of goofy shit that Sony would do, where Sony puts something out and you're just like, but why? What is the use case for this, Sony? What are you doing? Right. But I don't know. Who could say?
And with presumably, like, you're doing this so that you can actually put PS5 hardware, PS5 controller hardware into this thing, and that hardware is expensive. You know, they've got the friggin' rumble, the rumble things and the shoulder triggers and all the vibration stuff. So, I mean, even if this thing exists, I couldn't see it being like less than $200 or $250, even if it's just a dumb wireless monitor.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. In other Sony news, Sony is mad at the UK CMA. That's right. It's time for our weekly installment of What's the Latest Bullshit with this dumbass merger. Yep. Last week, the CMA basically kind of did a 180 and said, like, man, we looked at this. We decided that it's probably okay. Sony's not happy about that. We could kind of go into the specifics of this. It's kind of the same stuff that I've been talking about for a long time, talking about how, well, like specifically what Sony is out. One of their arguments is that, like, if Microsoft owns Activision, they could make Call of Duty be less good on the PlayStation. Previously, they talked about intentionally introducing bugs, but I think that a lot of this is like making the PS5 version just a little bit less smooth and a little bit less sharp and a little bit less like optimized. And then basically they talk about like Call of Duty gamers being like the Call of Duty audience being very sensitive to things like frame rates and the sharpness, and that like even a small degradation on the part of the PlayStation 5 version could end up pushing people towards the Xbox because it has a slightly better version of Call of Duty. I've kind of done a little bit of a I'm kind of channeling.
Well, lay down some justice.
Okay,
for us.
well,
hit the gavel.
Here's the thing. I'm kind of channeling some of 20-year-old Jeff's dumb libertarian streak here, but it's like Sony. Should we write a law that says that like Call of Duty must exist on PlayStations? Like should it be written into law that like Sony must be able to have Call of Duty? It is their right. It was handed down on the big stone tablets. It was part of the Constitution, and lo, there is Sony, and they shall always have Call of Duty because it's only fair that way. It's like, motherfucker, the latest Final Fantasy game is a platform exclusive that you paid for to be a platform exclusive. Okay, like platform exclusivity has been a thing for a long time, and yeah, Call of Duty is one of the biggest games in the world. But guess what? Like you paid for time limited exclusivity for Call of Duty DLC on PlayStation platforms, a thing that literally was made to drive people to the platform. So this idea that you're just like, but they're going to end up taking all the gamers away. And it's like, okay, well, again, I don't want to be fucking meritocracy libertarian over here, but then work harder, Sony. Like, Microsoft has said that they'll sign you a 10-year guaranteed deal for Call of Duty on the PlayStation. Great. Sign that and then move forward with the assumption at the end of that 10-year deal, you're not going to have Call of Duty on the PlayStation anymore. You have 10 years. That is infinity time in gaming to come up with a solution for what's going to happen when you don't have Call of Duty anymore. Like, and please, I'm just so sick of this, just like, but they're going to take it away from us. And it's just like, well, then where's the Xbox release of Spider-Man, right? Then where's God of War on the Xbox 360? Like, show me where, like, everybody has to be egalitarian in this world in order for it to, or in the gaming world, in order for it to be fair, because it's never been that way all the way back to Nintendo and Sega. And the fact that you can't plug an Atari 2600 game into, ColecoVision or whatever. Like, I don't know if you can. Actually, I don't know if you can do that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, look. Part of this is there's so much fucking stupid money at stake that there's no possibility that could maybe have a fucking snowball's chance in hell that they won't put in front of any lawmaker to try to stop this deal. Yeah. Like, ultimately, you and I, like, I agree with you, Jeff. What is going on here is really stupid. It doesn't make any sense historically, contemporarily, in context, with any of the players, even if you take into account the dynamics that it's talking about. It says it's ultimately not that big of a deal. But it is there's so much that they have to everything. Oh, they'll make the game worse. They'll make the game too good. They'll make the game too late. They'll make the game, they'll do this and that. Because I think the only thing I would give in Sony's favor on this, and this is a broad, far abstracted idea, is if you extrapolate this idea of one of a competitor in a space having basically unlimited money, eating up everyone in. Let's say you had a company called Microsoft, and you wanted to buy all of the people who made the biggest games, like Minecraft and Ball of Duty, and
I would play Ball of Duty, by the way. That game sounds rad. I would play that.
And that is not likely, but it is a possibility because of the way that our economic system works.
Sure.
Is that if it's not Microsoft, who's to say BlackRock doesn't come out and buy every video game developer or studio or publisher that they can and say, we own all of the games now.
Yeah.
Now we actually own all the games, because this is a thing that can happen. Acquisitions and content transfers tend to lead towards consolidation, which is what we see. I mean, Sony is trying to buy ABK, which is 3 huge different companies smashed into one.
Microsoft.
Just because the numbers are so big. Or excuse me, Microsoft. Thank you. Sorry. Sony's trying to stop this because that's consolidation on top of consolidation.
Mm-hmm. Just to be clear, it's not at the same level, but like Sony bought Bungie. Right, like Sony is also buying Blue Point Games, and like, you know, they have like a big contract with From Software that's incredibly popular, and none of those are as popular as Activision, because whether all the people that I record with / maybe half the people that listen to this don't give 2 shits about Call of Duty and what platform it is or isn't on, it is still huge. It's just that like I guess whenever I'm presented with a problem like this, I keep pulling back to the macro level. And I do take your argument that it's like, because Microsoft has done the exact same stupid thing. Last week, I was on here ranting about the script that they gave to the senators to read about how Japan won't let Xbox into the market, even though Xbox has had 20 fucking years to get into that market. Like, you know, so
it's all a charade on that level.
Yes.
Like, that's the unfortunate part, is it's all just a stupid charade, and all of your rants are exactly valid.
Yes.
But they don't even mean it.
Yeah.
None of them believe any of this.
Yeah. I guess I feel like the today's rant is brought to you by Jeff is sick of this dumb shit. Like, I'm just like, buy him, don't buy him. I don't care at this point. Like, I'm sick of hearing. Just do it. Just do it or don't do it. Just shit or get off of the financial pot. I don't care anymore.
Okay, here's a hypothetical for you, Jeff. Just to kind of explore the space here a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say 2025, Sony buys Electronic Arts or wants to make an acquisition of Electronic Arts.
Sure.
As a publisher, all of their deals, all of their sports games, all of their whatevers. Like, if you were Microsoft, what will you do about that? Because that's, I feel like Electronic Arts and Ubisoft are these like 500-pound gorillas in the room that are definitely valuable, that definitely have a lot of IP, but are so big. And look at the lawsuit of this case, or the hubbub about this case, that you like those companies almost become poison. Like, how could anybody buy an Electronic Arts if this is just going to be the thing? Is you get into this thing of, okay, we have to figure out all the stakeholders and figure out what is right and what is fair until we can actually own the thing that we tried to buy. Like, I understand that there's complications on both sides to this, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would be quite as relevant. Just because the thing is that you saw the Bethesda acquisition, the ZeniMax acquisition, that went through like nobody. There wasn't 8 months of back and forth with the bullshit about this. You know, Sony bought Bungie. I don't think EA or even Ubisoft is at the sales level that Activision, Blizzard, King, right? Like, those 3 companies represent.
You think Electronic Arts? What? I know that ABK is huge for sure, but I mean, we're talking about Electronic Arts, right? We're talking The Sims. We're talking all of the Battlefield stuff. We're talking Madden. We're talking all of the sports games.
Yeah.
And all of the I'm saying that it's up there. And with an Electronic Arts or an Ubisoft, those are similarly multi-platform franchise makers and holders.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell because the overall sales numbers are all very obscured. And it's possible that I may be doing the exact thing that I was just talking about, where I may be really underestimating Madden because I'm not a Madden guy. Like I keep seeing people complain about Madden, about FIFA, about Battlefield. Like EA is just putting out, it seems like stinker after stinker, but there's nothing that says that people aren't buying the hell out of all those stinkers because I want to play a football game and like that's the one. So, if you want to play a soccer game, you buy FIFA because the alternative is Captain.
I think you're thinking of EAFC, Jeff.
Not yet, I'm not. But yeah, so I don't know. The thing is that I definitely take the argument that like I don't want there just to be two video game companies in the entire industry. Everybody is either owned by Nintendo/Sony or Microsoft, right? Like there's two companies and everybody's just a subsidiary of these companies. I'm not a big fan of consolidating companies because, as I've always said, I think that the only way these days that consumers get a break on stuff is when you make giant corporations fight each other tooth and nail for your dollar. And the only way that works is that there are a lot of different corporations to fight for your money.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And if you're a platform holder, you get to say that exact same thing. Right. You get to say, I just want to make the landscape better for everyone. And that means not having to take whatever 10-year, well, we want 15, we want 20. Like, what does 10 years mean? 10 years doesn't. What does 10 years mean? What does it? Anyway, this is a weird.
Let's see. We're getting close to the end of part one here, so let's roll down a couple of other quick Activision Blizzard stories just to get them off our plate. Activision Blizzard settled a lawsuit this week. This was something I had never really heard about before. This was an esports lawsuit that had been brought against them by the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. This was specifically related to a thing. This gets into the weeds. I had to read this thing like 4 times. My brain kept just going, no, I don't want to. Competitive balance tax that basically put caps on the amount of money that could be offered to esports players in the Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues. So if you had a better player that you wanted to try to get to your team, there was a top limit to the amount of money that you could offer them as a salary. This seems to be this lawsuit seems to be brought because, unlike a lot of other esports leagues, the players in the league never negotiated with Activision Blizzard for what terms these leagues would have as far as payment to the players went. It was like Activision Blizzard just imposed these salary limits just arbitrarily, and because there was no negotiation, apparently there was a lawsuit that was filed. Activision actually didn't implement this. Like, this was just on the books, but they never actually went in and implemented this. And then apparently this lawsuit was filed, and then it was immediately settled with Activision Blizzard, where they said, we're not even doing this. We're not doing this. But I thought it was interesting to point out, just because a lot of lawsuits these days in the video game industry. So
it's an interesting idea, though. Like, this comes up in a lot of different sports. Like, should there be a salary cap?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different opinions on both sides of that paycheck, mm-hmm. of whether there should or shouldn't be. It could equal things out. It could stop it from there being just a few star players who, jump from team to team and chase a paycheck. But at the same time, if you are a game developer who wants these leagues to be big, you need to remove barriers. You need to just make it easy for people to get into this thing so that you are competitive against all the other esports leagues.
Yep. Agreed. Let's see. Activision also put some stuff out this week about Call of Duty. This was interesting because they put out 3 videos showing that when somebody is cheating in Call of Duty, a lot of times they don't immediately ban them. They kind of fuck them in real time to observe what happens, and then track what the players do, and then also just to feed the non-cheaters on the server. So they put out 3 videos. This one is called Disarm. It shows a character trying to shoot and then hot swap to another weapon to avoid the reload animation, and then it just takes the gun out of their hand and they can't equip anything, leaving them defenseless. A second one, this one's the most interesting to me, is called Damage Shield, where basically it just removes the damage that the person does. So they can show that they're shooting another player, but they're not actually killing them.
Oh, wow.
And this one seems to me interesting because I feel like this could take quite some time to figure out that you got hit with that, because it could just be, oh, bad luck, oh, bad luck, oh, bad, wait, am I even doing anything to these people? And then the third,
and it's smart to not make it immediate. Yeah. What's the third one?
And then the third one is called Cloaking, and it basically just makes all of the enemies invisible. So you just can't see them, and then they can shoot you at will. You can't see the other players. So yeah, I like this because Dan Olsen, get out of here. I like this because I think that cheaters are trying to ruin the game for other people, and I think it's more than fair to ruin the game for cheaters as opposed to just banning them. Like, I actually think that if you wanted to create a whole series of torturous things that slowly implemented themselves into the person's game, making it harder and harder and making them less and less effective, I would like that as a way to incentivize people to quit playing the game, as opposed to just like hot banning them and then having them go make another account on a VPN or whatever and come back. I like the idea of messing with the cheaters. So
yeah, this is super clever. And if this becomes like a tool for Call of Duty, right? Like you get to learn what they're gonna do, what happens to them when they run into a new technical. It's like the old Arkham Asylum thing with the poison gas or any number of copy protection stuff,
right?
Where I fell into this poisonous gas. What's going on? I can't get through the game. It's like, oh yeah, that's our anti-cheat stuff. Congratulations.
Yes, why don't you go buy the game?
That stuff is cool. Yeah, go buy it. So it's cool. I wonder like if there's a whole field of study in like anti-cheat technology and anti-cheat psychology.
Probably at this point. And last but not least, I have a really silly story. This is a kind of a developing thing. It requires a little bit of explanation because when I read this story, I didn't understand what I was reading. So Warzone 2.0 came out earlier or late last year, I believe, with the I don't know exactly when it came out. But
that's the free-to-play Call of Duty?
Yeah, it's the Battle Royale one. And it had a new map. And then later on, they found that people wanted to play the old map because it was a little smaller. So they put out a branch called Warzone Caldera. And Caldera is like the last season smaller map on this island that people like. Now, the contention here is that nobody's playing Warzone 2.0 because it sucks and people don't like it. Now, there's a person getting stream sniped that was playing Caldera, one of these professional World of Warcraft, Call of Duty streamers, and so then somebody, I didn't look into this too hard, but somebody then like went and started trying to interview some of the stream snipers that were going after them, and that one of the stream snipers said that they signed like an NDA and they can't really disclose. They basically said they were employed to stream snipe this person. They weren't just doing it for the lulz. And the implication is that Activision hired these trolls to stream snipe popular Call of Duty players to get them out of Caldera and back into Warzone 2.0 because they want people playing Warzone 2.0. Now, this is almost certainly bullshit. But I love the idea of like, oh yeah, Activision has nothing better to do than to hire a bunch of internet trolls to go kill off the top Call of Duty streamers in other game types to make sure that they play the approved game type. I don't know.
I wouldn't, guys. I hate being confronted with reality. I want it to be real because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It would be the worst. It would be, first off, fucking say goodbye to your merger.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Why did they put that out? I don't know why they put that Caldera mode out. Or they have made a massive fuck up if that is the situation where they put out this Caldera mode.
Well, apparently
totally cannibalized 2.0.
One of the big reasons that people don't like Warzone 2.0 is because all of the cosmetics and microtransaction stuff from the original Warzone did not migrate to 2.0 accounts. Yeah. Like,
what the fuck?
I didn't know that.
You stupid idiot.
Yeah.
What the fucking shit?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So,
oh my God.
I didn't even know that was a thing until I read this. But then it also took me like 20 minutes to figure out what Caldera was. So I might not be the person to talk about this. And with that, we're going to go ahead and put a bow on part one. We still have a lot of news left. We're only about halfway through the news. There's a lot more news, but a lot of it is quick news. So hopefully it'll go fast. So yeah, stick around. We'll be right back for more news. I need a catchphrase. We'll be back. I need a catchphrase. And we're back. And I still don't have a catchphrase, but that's okay because we got a way more news to talk about. Let's start by talking about New Vegas, Fallout New Vegas. So in yet another Steam did an update and people are looking at the Steam files news. There was apparently a Fallout 4 update on Steam that had the words New Vegas 2 in the branch update. And it's got people really excited. I honestly think this is probably just going to be because Fallout 4 is about to be released for like next gen. There's going to be updates later this year for a next gen version of Fallout 4.
Oh.
I get the impression this is probably going to be like cosmetic DLC or building types or some kind of like reference to New Vegas. I don't know. It would be kind of crazy if a New Vegas 2 came out of nowhere at some point this year. I know people have been speculating about that for a while with the like Microsoft owns both Obsidian and ZeniMax. So, but yeah, I don't see it being a thing. Doubt.
I'll say that it does seem like there are people at Microsoft who can acknowledge things like that, who can do things like this and say like, you guys know we've got all of the pieces to make another New Vegas. We have unlimited money. Would anybody like to do the thing everybody wants? Like just everybody else wants this. I could see Microsoft doing that more than say Nintendo or Sony or even Bethesda ZeniMax on their own. I don't know why this would come in an update in Fallout 4, so I think it's much more likely that this is like a DLC thing or an expansion pass, possibly.
You know, it'd be really weird. It'd be really cool and really weird is if they went out and got like if there was one of those mod teams that was like, we're porting all of New Vegas to the Fallout 4 engine, and if like real quiet, like they like found one of these mod teams and they were like, hey, why don't you just come over here and do this officially, and we're gonna put like 8 guys from like the Fallout 76 team, and they're gonna work with you guys, and we're gonna make this official, and then we're gonna release New Vegas 2 as an expansion for Fallout 4. That this is after years and years. This is a Fallout 4 expansion that is essentially New Vegas 2.
They got all the base building stuff in there, so they want people to stay in.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Ooh. Oh. But how do you? Okay.
I don't. Just for the record, I do not.
I don't know how you do this, but oh my god!
I don't think that would happen. But if it did happen, holy shit, Fallout 4 would be back on the map in a big bad way. I
could also see the Fallout 4-ness of this is what makes this weird. The fact that this was in an update for the Fallout 4 Steam page means it was probably a mistake that it got out, but it was probably not a mistake or a goof. Mm-hmm. There's some kernel to this that is probably real.
Yeah.
I bet it's just like DLC.
It's probably DLC. It's probably like, DLC.
Get Benny's suit. You can get Benny's suit.
Yep.
And the little robot guy, and you can get the Ave Caesar guys, and the arrow in the knee, and that's on a T-shirt, and you can wear a T-shirt.
Here's all the casino stuff for your base building in Fallout 4. But see, what's a little weird about that is if they were going to do that, I almost feel like wouldn't they do that for 76?
For 76?
Yeah. Like, why Fallout 4? Fallout 4 hasn't been relevant for a long time except for this next-gen thing. And how the hell... anyway, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And it doesn't even support the idea of, like, okay, well, they're trying to put 76 out there and Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and all these things. So, like, let's get people to buy the DLC. Like, that, it makes more sense than putting it in Fallout 4 somehow.
Yep, I agree.
Unless the thing is, Jeff,
okay,
a lot of people own Fallout 4. A lot of people are going to get, like the Skyrim remasters, if you do it as a remaster. And if you say there's a New Vegas in there, because it would be better to be in an offline game, right? It just wouldn't make sense to put it in 76 if it's not a live service. I mean, it's a Fallout game.
Yeah.
So that would be where you would if you wanted to.
We got talking ourselves into it here live on the podcast. All right, let's see. Other PC news. We've got another update in the Iron Mace Nexon thing. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, but there's a bunch of indie developers that go under the name Iron Mace. They were ex-Nexon employees. They left to create this thing called Dark and Darker, this MMO. Nexon has been hammering on them. Last week, Nexon literally did a DMCA takedown of the Steam page for Dark and Darker, saying that it had too much in common with this unreleased prototype that they were working on. This week there was a really strange the thing that happened here. So on the Discord server for Iron Mace, there was a person, like a mod called Lucy, that basically came out and said, Nexon appears to be trying to basically put us through so many court cases to unscramble this that they're trying to bankrupt us. As such, we're putting up a GoFundMe for people to help us to stay, solvent and to fight this stuff in court, because literally the Steam page is down. There's no way for us to take pre-orders or anything like that. Then that got taken down, and somebody wrote, Lucy's account could be compromised. Don't click on GoFundMe's that you don't know. Then later on, it was put back up again, and another mod called Grayson came out and said, like, this is legit. We were planning on doing this. It's just this mod jumped the gun and put it up too soon before we were ready to do it. So that's kind of where we are now. This whole thing is some messy business. I'm kind of on Iron Mace's side just because I don't like Nexon very much, but that's how you make your decisions, right? You're just like, who do I like better? But yeah, it's very strange.
This seems really bad for everybody. I don't know why they're doing this. Like, I think it's interesting that, their argument is like, no, we made our game from scratch. But it sounds like, and I haven't kept up with this exactly, but it sounds like they're being accused of stealing from a game, ideas from a game that isn't out yet. Which is not the same thing exactly as making every bit of it from scratch. I don't like anybody in this. This is all really, really dysfunctional and really stupid. It's like, figure it fucking out. Don't get people wrapped up with the GoFundMe. Like, fucking figure it out.
Yeah. There's also there was another bit of pettiness. I forget. I don't think it's in this article, but Nexon also apparently did like an update and like added a boss to one of their MMOs and named it after the guy that runs Iron Mace. Like it was like the corrupted priest Nathaniel, and it was like the guy's name from Iron Mace. So Nexon is also there. They had the Korean police raid the Iron Mace offices and take all their computers and shit, and I'm just like, hey, you can work this thing out in court if you want to, but like there's a lot of real world pressure coming from Nexon that I don't know, just makes my spidey senses tingle. Let's see. In other lawsuit news, Monster Energy is going after an indie developer, as they are wont to do. For anybody who remembers, the game Immortals Phoenix Rising used to be called Gods and Monsters, and it was changed after the Monster Energy drink brand, who is a notorious patent troll, came in and tried to make the argument that people would confuse Gods and Monsters for having something to do with their bullshit energy drink nonsense. So they changed it, but recently, there's an indie developer called Glowstick Entertainment that is making a game called Dark Deception Monsters and Mortals, who Monster Energy came at, and basically, like, they offered them the settlement that, like, well, they can use this name, but they can never name a game ever again with the word monsters in the title, or use a green and white on black background logo for anything that they do. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Glowstick Entertainment, but they have decided that they are going to take them to court, and that they're also going to publicly publish everything that Monster sends them legally. So they've already published the kind of resolution suggestion, the offer that they made previously. And I think this is good, because I hate it when companies like Monster, like, you can't have Monster. It's like the guy, what's the one? Oh, there's that one notorious patent troll in the game industry that has like the word hyper or something like that, where it's like anytime anybody uses, or turbo or something like that, where anytime anybody tries to do anything in a video game with like this one common word, they're like, no, I have the copyright for that, and I'm going to take you to court and fight forever because I got nothing better to do with my time. So
it's despicable. Like, this is so stupid. It's before you, if you're listening, like, no, you don't actually have to do this just because you have a copyright or a trademark. Mm-hmm. Like, this, you don't actually have to do this. This is not a video game. Is not the same thing as a fucking beverage. Mm-hmm. And Coca-Cola knows this. This is just more abuse, legal abuse.
Yep, 100%. Let's see. EverQuest 2 is in the news because apparently, I didn't know this, but like last month, EverQuest 2 added loot boxes to EverQuest 2.
EverQuest 2?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
They were called Libent Evernight Heritage Crates. Of course. That gave the purchasers the ability to get endgame raid loot through RNG by buying loot boxes with real money. This did not go over well with the players of EverQuest 2. So they said that they're going to pull them. They're going to turn them off. They're not going to sell them anymore. And then also they made an additional statement saying that they're going to set up like a kind of a community feedback board where they will float potential updates to their community to kind of get opinions about them before they roll out. And at first I thought, wow, that sounds like a really terrible idea. And then I remembered that I was talking about EverQuest 2. And if you're running EverQuest 2, the last thing you want to do is piss off one of the 35 people that are playing EverQuest 2. So
you have the exact demographic that an online message board will actually solve a problem.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
At least they rolled it back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
I don't believe I didn't know EverQuest 2 was still running, to be honest.
Still around. EverQuest 2 launched on November 2004, almost 20 years ago.
Oof. Still not as old as the game that we are playing for Sequential Saturday. Bada bing, bada boom. We just started playing No One Lives Forever 2 because I wanted to really bad for years. That game is 21 years old. It came out in 2002.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Let's see. Ark Survival Evolved had a bit of a controversy this week. So previously, the co-founder had talked about how there was going to be a switch with Ark Survival Evolved to the Unreal 5 engine, and it was referred to as a free update. This week, a number of different things have come out. So first, it is not a free update. It is going to be a paid update where for the next year, I believe, they said that you can buy a $50 pack that is basically Ark 2 pre-order that also gives you this Unreal Engine 5 upgrade for old Ark. Which...
Wait, sorry. So there's a new game, and then there's the Unreal remake of.
It's an upgrade.
Is that what
to
that
the
bundle is?
Yeah, it's an upgrade to the Unreal Engine 5 for original Ark Survival Evolved, as well as a pre-order for Ark 2. So it's not just like a $20 like upgrade fee. It's like $50 for Ark 2, and then you also get an upgrade. Now, that's a little weird, but let me throw two more pieces of information at you. Number one, it has also been confirmed that Ark 2 has been delayed until late 2024. So that pre-order for Ark 2 is way down the line. But that's not the worst part, because the thing is that once the Unreal Engine 5 version of Ark Survival Evolved launches, they are turning off the servers for the legacy version of Ark Survival Evolved. You can still play it single player, or I think some kind of peer-to-peer solution, but they are literally locking anybody who doesn't purchase the upgrade out of the official online servers, multiplayer servers, essentially.
What the fuck? It's just greed, Jeff. Here's a theme all day, Jeff. Just unabashed greed.
Yep. Just
unchecked greed. We just fucking... They put loot boxes in EverQuest, Jeff. Like... I saw an interesting thing on the internet the other day.
Okay.
A while ago. That said... because these recent generations have been pushed into, you must go to a university, you have to go to college to get ahead, that it meant that we had a generation of people go through business school, which is already really unhelpful, and then get pushed ahead of people with like a trade experience and history and an understanding of what things happen, and we've like injected all of these degree holders into artificially elevated positions, which lead to what seem to be unchecked greed at every opportunity. I don't know that that's what's happening here, but like what? How?
Yep. Well, I think that So my response to what you just said is that I feel like we've seen stuff like this happen in the past, and the problem is that I'm going to come on this podcast and I'm going to yell and scream about it, and everybody's going to go on Twitter and they're going to dislike it, and they're going to review bomb the update when it comes out on Steam, and it doesn't matter because enough people are going to buy it that it doesn't matter how mad people are. Like, the anger and dissatisfaction doesn't matter if you still manage to make money, and right now, as near as I can tell, it doesn't matter how mad people get, they still buy it. Like, traditionally in the video game industry, people have bitched and moaned and complained for time immemorial. And like, Cyberpunk 2077 made a shitload of money. Like, that thing was rushed out the door half-baked. Then they had a limited refund potential. Like, you could just go get a refund with a single click. Sony would give you a fucking refund. And yet people didn't do it. They were just like, oh, I'm just going to hold on to it just in case, even though you could have refunded your full $70, $60 purchase, waited for it to be fixed, and then bought it on a Steam sale for $30 when it was a way better game. And yet people were just like, man, whatever. So I think that the thing is that I don't know how much money Arc makes. I've always gotten the impression that this project has been a little bit of like a weird shit show. So it's possible that they might have seen their profits slow down and they're doing all this stuff. And they're just like, fuck it, just put a price tag on it. And to me, that does make a certain amount of sense when you think about the fact that it's not just a $20 upgrade, that it's also a pre-order for the next game, like locking people kind of into the next ecosystem, and then like, well, how are we going to get them to do that? Well, just shut down the servers, especially if the previous one was running on a different code base. They might have said like, well, we could just eat whatever the losses are, or we could pay people to make sure that there's communication between the different code bases. I don't know. I agree with you. I think that we've seen time and again that there is no amount of money that is enough money for the video game industry to make. There's no point where they say, cool, we've got enough that everybody's rich and everybody's doing very well. Let's pull back a little bit and just see about... But some companies will do that. There's some kind of ethical companies that'll do stuff like that. But yeah, I take your meaning.
Yeah. This sets me off because you're putting people in between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
Saying like, hey, if you want to keep playing your game, pay up because it's going to turn the fuck off. Not for any reason other than we fucking decided to. Mm-hmm. That's a great pitch, guys. Thanks. Like, yeah, I'm really understanding your development costs, and the you're really making this make sense by like what the fuck? Can you at least try? Can you at least try to make it?
Yep. No, I agree. I 100% agree. Which is why I will not be playing Ark Survival Evolved. I've never played. I keep looking at. I've looked at this game for years. Where it's just like, should I play this game? And I'm like, nah, I don't want to play your dinosaur Minecraft game. And the second one's supposed to have Vin Diesel in it, and I don't care if Vin Diesel's in your dinosaur Minecraft game. I'm not really super duper interested. But yeah, it's kind of scummy. The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is sometimes, with a niche community audience like what this game has, you can get enough of a head of steam going that they look at the player response and go like, oh shit, like we don't have a zillion players. Like the EverQuest thing, right? Like, you don't want to piss off your small dedicated community of whales that is actually spending money on your game, that if you get enough of an outcry, sometimes they'll finally go, okay, we made a mistake, we're going to flip it around. But I don't know if the outcry is enough over Arc 2.
Are there microtransactions in Arc? There might not be.
I don't think so.
Or maybe they've got some skins and things. But okay, yeah. Anyway, it's just yeah.
There's some. It looks like there's some DLC stuff. Season pass. That was a 2019.
You sell a season pass.
2019 season pass. Okay, man, this game kind of looks cool. Like, there's mechs.
Well, no, that's Arc Genesis. That's a different game.
Oh,
Or is that then?
No,
that is DLC.
That's DLC for Ark Survival Evolved. You've got the
but are they campaigns? Maybe
Fjordur expansion and and also I should also just briefly say, nail this down, like the older versions of Ark will continue to run in single player and will continue to run in a more limited mode. They just won't be in this kind of like MMO style connect to a server mode. So it's not like it's completely getting turned off, but like it still just kind of sucks. Lots of DLC.
A lot of it looks free, so okay, but it is. I don't know. Maybe you have some listeners who would love to write in about this.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Fortnite has launched their like Unreal creation thing where people can go in and create new levels out of the Unreal tools. Last week we got I don't know why, like people do this shit and then they get really surprised. They get that surprised Pikachu face. So somebody was like, just I made a bunch of Call of Duty maps and put them in Fortnite, and then they got taken down because of course they did. Like, like nobody's gonna let you put like geometry, like exact geometry matched Call of Duty maps in fucking Fortnite because. I mean, like, do I have to finish that sentence? I have to tell you why. But isn't this always the way, though, right? They create a creation tool gets started, and the first thing that people do are they're like, I'm going to make Super Mario Brothers in Fortnite. It's like, no, you're not. Or you can if you want, but it's not going to stick around for very long. Especially because now people made an interesting argument that, like, the Forge in Halo has the same thing where people make like Call of Duty maps in Halo. But the thing is that Fortnite is actually paying. They have a revenue split program with creators that make really popular maps. So it's very possible that could be the impetus for like, it's different if you make it and it's free and anybody can download it. It's a whole other thing if you're getting paid for remonetizing Call of Duty's intellectual property. So yeah, the person that made
this makes sense.
Yeah. The person that made this is called Miss Jawa, and they were making like some zombie maps and then some other maps, and they said they're just going to take them down and start doing stuff. And this is maybe a very good lesson for young creators that are emulating stuff about how do you take a map that is an exact copy of another thing and then change it just enough so that you don't get sued by the developers of the original thing.
Though I think there is something to be said about people who are getting into game development or game design to do this. I mean, we're talking about this Miss Jawa guy, whoever. Like, and I bet there are worse ways, I think, to try to start and make a name for yourself than mirroring Call of Duty maps. Like, it's a shame that these are being taken down. It makes sense, but also I think there's an interesting trade-off there. I think there's an interesting trade-off there if you can make good knockoffs and good copycats.
I saw, not to get too far into the weeds, but I saw I don't like to spend too much time in the AI art world because it's so fucking wacky and crazy over there. But I saw a Twitter account that was talking about AI art, and then they were sharing images from their portfolio. One of the images that they had made was they had taken another person's picture and then done a line drawing of it and used that line drawing to practice watercolor stuff. And I saw people in the Twitter mentions that were just like, I can't believe that you ripped off this person's picture of a house. You stole it, you thief, you fucking thief. And it's like, one of the things that's been around since time immemorial when you're learning how to create art is copying another artist's work in order to understand. You get a greater understanding of how a thing was made by copying, by just recreating it yourself. You probably get a lot more insight into like, how do these levels, like if you're building a level, like, oh, how am I designing the flow of like choke points and like, places where people can take cover, and like, how do I get to the upper level and the lower level, and like, where are the sight lines between those? So yeah, I agree that I think it's worthwhile to do it. And I also really like the video that we were looking at of like how janktastic it is, how it's just like a bunch of like shipping containers and like Fortnite boxes and like twigs and stuff.
Isn't that all Call of Duty maps are anyway? Is just a bunch of storage containers and dumpsters and shit. I don't know. That's what all I think about.
I haven't played Call of Duty in forever. So, but yeah, I do think that that's worth taking a look at.
It kind of looks like Team Fortress 2, actually.
It really
the color cartoon.
Yeah, it kind of does. Let's see, another PC news. Naughty Dog has come out and officially apologized for the state of The Last of Us on the PC. I don't know why, because they're creating memes that I absolutely love. I love Eyebrow Joel. I love everybody getting wet for no reason in the cutscenes. It is one of my favorite things. But what's this one person talking about how like apparently it's a weird thing where a lot of people are finding very uneven performance where when the game runs it runs really well, but then when it crashes it'll just keep crashing over and over and over again. It'll keep getting worse and worse. But yeah, Naughty Dog came out and basically said like we're working to resolve this, and this isn't the quality that we wanted for this to come out as. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that many devs want to release a fucked up broken game. They might have had to hit a deadline, and I've always said there is no greater QA department than releasing your game to the world, because people will find the dumb shit that is broken in your game for you. Yeah. So,
well, and I have to imagine there's a certain amount of this that was tied to the TV show coming out.
Yeah.
Hey, the TV show's out. We're getting sales. You need to fucking push this new. Like, I understand. It makes sense if it's a deadline issue. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they're working on it, though.
Yep. It also seems weird to me that it would be this broken. That it would be that some of the stuff that you're seeing. It's like the PS5 has like an x86 architecture, right? Like you're going from PC hardware to PC hardware, and I know it's not quite that simple, but like. I don't understand a lot of times how it can be that complex to get, as opposed to porting stuff the way that it used to be a lot harder. But I don't know. Maybe
I bet it's that Naughty Dog engine, right? Like the Uncharted, like this is their first time having a PC port versus like Horizon and Death Stranding, kind of using the same engines for their game, which crosses over to PC. Like I'm not surprised that there are headaches, but it always stinks when that happens.
Yeah, and just to note, I did look this up. Iron Galaxy did the port. I didn't actually realize that Iron Galaxy was doing ports, but apparently, like, because their list of original games is like Rumbleverse, Extinction, Season 2 and 3, Killer Instinct, and Dive Kick. But then, like, they've been porting stuff after stuff. Like, they did that Metroid Prime port on the Switch. They did the last Uncharted one and Overwatch on the Switch, and like Diablo 3 on the
Uncharted
Switch.
Was on Windows too.
Yeah,
and they did it. Ay caramba! Like that's a. Ugh. That's a tough one, man.
I don't know. Probably something going on that I don't know about. I mean, always and forever, without being part of an organization like this, there's probably something that's so simple and that we'll just never know because there's no reason for them to tell us. There's no upside for them telling us. Speaking of not having an upside, this is your weekly reminder not to harass people online for stupid reasons. The Lily Gao is the person who is playing Ada Wong in the Resident Evil 4 remake, who has apparently been she closed down her Instagram account and just Bryce, I've never really been able to understand the idea of holding an actor responsible for like the choice of them as an actor, the way that their performance comes off. Like, if their performance isn't to your liking, you would blame the director, right? The person who directed them on how to say their lines. If you had a problem with them as an actor, you would blame a casting agent, right? You would never blame, like, I've tried using this before, where if somebody came to me and they were like, hey, Jeff, we've been watching your YouTube channel and we want you to be the next Doctor in Doctor Who. And I'd be like, fuck yeah, man, sign me up. Like, I may do the worst job in the world, but you know what? At the end of the day, I want to be able to be like, I was the fucking 17th Doctor. Suck it, nerds. Like, so I don't understand going after actors and actresses specifically for like taking a role that they were offered that they might have been interested in. I don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But
and you know, if you want to make trouble, I'm not like this. I'm not even coming at this from a place of like maybe they've got a point. Like, I don't think they've got a point. I think they just want to make trouble more or less. And if what you want to do is make trouble, then you don't go after Capcom, who's not even listening. Capcom doesn't give a shit. But a person is on her Instagram, probably her, because she's famous, but she's not a Capcom.
Right.
That stuff gets to you. You know, there's a human side to this, and the human side is what's vulnerable. That's why people go after people and not like companies, and why they should go after companies, because companies can fucking take it.
Yeah.
So like, this is awful. This is always awful when this happens. I wish there was a way for people to have something about this.
Yep. This also, though, brought us one of the more entertaining things this week, where somebody was on the Steam forums asking if Resident Evil 4 was woke. Or no, they were asking if they were asking if a they were asking that they said they were asking about another game, asking if it was woke. And then here's the text: interested in buying. Can anyone tell me if this game is being influenced by the woke leftist agenda so I can know if I play or not? Between Dead Space's woke bathrooms, Hogwarts Legacy's woke genders, and RE4's woke soundtrack, I'm starting to doubt if I could be able to play any new games this year. And which immediately led all of us to go, what the fuck is a woke soundtrack?
Oh, the woke genders now. I got the woke bathrooms. It's like, fuck. God, get a life. Just fucking get a life.
Yeah.
Find something real. I've actually just find something real in your life, because what you have and what you're hanging on to is not real.
It's not even to say that RE4, the original one, isn't like delisted. You could go play it right now if you wanted to play the original one with the sexy Ada Wong in it. Just go do that.
On 4K. It's all woke.
There is an incredibly good 4K HD resolution up-res for the PC version of Resident Evil 4.
That person, no, don't give this person. This person needs to go into a hole and expire. Okay.
Yeah, probably so. Okay. I got a good story about RE4 that is way more fun than any of that bullshit. So last week, this story was bad internet. Here's good internet. So some people on the internet decided that they wanted to portray Ashley, the lady that Leon, the president's daughter that Leon is rescuing, as a mouse called Meowshly. And so they basically started with this illustration of Meowshly as this little like Disney cartoon mouse, and then the internet just picked it up and they started drawing Ashley mouse, sometimes with Leon, sometimes in different styles, and it's just goddamn adorable. And I don't know why she's a mouse. I don't know what that was for, but the end result is adorable. It's adorable. And then yes.
Yeah.
And then finally at the end, somebody made a mod that made a tiny little Meowshly on top of Leon's head, like Ratatouille, like she's pulling on his hair, making him fire his gun at zombies. It's a little janky because the mod person said they had to make the mouse out of the hair, because it's part of his hair model.
Okay.
So it looks a little weird, but it's also
Looks good.
adorable.
Wow.
I like this. You can literally see it in the reflection of the glass. It's so hard. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah. So yeah, there's a fun thing that happened with Resident Evil 4 this week. I don't know.
Very fun. That's fun.
I think Meowshley is pretty. There's some good ass artists on the internet, man. Like people just tear this stuff out like it's no big deal. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm worried, Jeff, that if I dig too deep, I'm gonna find a pit of none of the things I want to learn.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Obviously, yes. Yeah. Yes.
There's a pit that just like is right there, Jeff. We're just gotta watch out for that pit.
keep your fingernails way far away from this surface. You don't want to scratch any more than we've done right here. You want to go download that adorable mod. Look at some of these Twitter pictures that have been curated by Polygon.com, and no more. Nothing more than that. I went to the NSFW Elden Ring subreddit last week, and I was like, nope. All right,
some mouses in there too.
Nope, it's way worse. Quantum Break is leaving Game Pass momentarily. So Quantum Break was the Remedy game that was an Xbox exclusive that had all kinds of celebrities in it. Had the weird 20-minute TV episodes that happened between the various levels. It was like a time travel thing. Apparently it's been pulled down, but only because some of the rights to some stuff expired, and apparently they are they're going to be back momentarily, and this will be back up for everybody to download within a little bit of time. So if you're looking for Quantum Break,
there's a bunch of I bet there's a bunch of stupid deals behind that game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They were airing that show on CBS or something. I mean, they said they were going to. Like that. There's a bunch of stupid shit tied up in the background of that game, I'm sure.
Almost certainly. Let's see. We also got the news that Jedi Survivor on the PC is a 155 gigabyte installation. So clear out your old hard drives because you're gonna need a lot of space.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a lot for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Call of Duty being that game, because those Call of Duty games are huge. I get that, I don't know why this is so big.
Yeah, the previous one was 55 gigs.
It's a lot. It's just a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, look out. All right, and then last, before we get into trailers, PC Gaming Show is coming back. E3 may be completely canceled at this point, but Microsoft is still going ahead with their presentation in June, including a dedicated Starfield presentation, and on June 11th, after that, our favorite live streaming host Sean Day9 Plot will be back for another PC gaming show, which... I'm going to not be shitty here. I believe that the PC Gaming Show has done nothing but get better over the years. When I think back to the first one that had the talk show desk where they were doing 20-minute interviews with every single person that came out, and had a huge AMD ad right in the middle of it that went on for 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, there are going to be more of these shows. It makes sense that PC Gamer, or is this actually by PC Gamer, or is it just the PC Gaming?
It's the PC Gaming Show, but it's hosted by PC Gamer, and it's funny because I was reading the article announcing it on the PC Gamer website, and the one thing that it did differently than all the rest of the stories that I've had was at the bottom they have a thing saying, hey, if you're a streamer, here's a form you could fill out to become a partnered stream person for this show if you want to co-monetize or restream it or whatever. Huh. And I was like, oh, you don't normally see that on a news site. It's right, that's because this is their show.
But that's clever. That's a clever thing to do. You know, the other presentations don't really do that, or you have to be like in the press to you know, have a connect or whatever. Like that's cool. Like that's acknowledging there are a lot of smaller streamers who don't have like industry connects.
Yep. And the PC gaming show, I mean, they're kind of like the Epic Game Store, right? They're still trying to establish themselves. They're just like, hey, what do you want? We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
All right, we got some trailers. Hey, there's another new No Man's Sky expansion. This one is called Interceptor, and it adds this new purple crystal corruption that's corrupting like planets. It adds a jetpack. It adds some new abandoned camps. There's a new ship type that has this kind of cool cyberpunk like cockpit that comes down. They show some different new capital ship fights, some new the Sentinels being corrupted have some different types of weapons that they'll shoot at you with. They just keep adding. At this point, like, there's got to be a certain point, Bryce, where they stop making. There's not enough money, right? Everybody that's going to buy No Man's Sky has purchased No Man's Sky, and so there's not enough money to keep paying people to add more stuff to No Man's Sky. Doesn't
it seem like they keep? I am on the periphery of No Man's Sky at this point. Doesn't it seem that they keep adding the same things to this game?
Not to me. The things that they've been adding, you know, it's like, oh, we added mech suits, and then and I can see where that would come off, because it was like, we added dune buggies, and then we added mech suits, and then we added jetpacks, and it's like, well, this is always just a traverse. But it's cool to kind of have all of that around, or like, we added a bioship, we added this new ship type, we added, capital fleet battles, and now we've tweaked individual capital ship fights. It all just seems to me like they add 2 or 3 new things and then refine some of the existing stuff, and this happens every 4 months whether you want to or not. So I'm waiting for them to finish when they're just like, okay, it's done, then I'm going to go back and try it, because apparently they've added a lot of new story mission stuff that wasn't in the original. They've fixed what I think was a major problem, where they've added like enemies, like more, like in the beginning it was you just walk around and scan stuff, but now there's like all kinds of, there's like corruption and these there's like this toxic mold stuff that's happening, or capital ships will come in and shoot at you, and then you can shoot them down and loot them for stuff. And so it just looks a lot more exciting than the very sedate early stuff of just like, go wherever you want and look at these monsters. And now you can ride the giant sky worm, which is an update that happened like 3 updates back. I
guess, well, okay, I kept thinking, like, why don't they make just a No Man's Sky 2? But Starfield was right around the corner. Like, there's going to be a lot of fighting over this, like, third-person space genre. And if you could say, we're No Man's Sky, we've been doing this for 4 years, we already got all that shit, and we have an infinitely sized universe, sorry about it.
Yeah,
like, I bet that's an interesting proposition.
It's also just No Man's Sky is a lot more like vibrant, right? Like, you look at Starfield and it's really like washed out, whereas this like bright colors, bright crystals, bright, you know, purple grass and green skies, and like big pink lasers coming at you and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I still, every time this comes up, I like to give Hello Games props for being like, you guys put this thing out half baked, and then you fucking put it back in the oven, and then you put another cake in the, and then you just kept handing me, opening that oven and handing me stuff from it. Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a new mode called Ray Tracing Overdrive mode. So most ray tracing solutions at the moment ray trace like shadows, reflections, and global illumination from a few sources independently of each other. Like, you can kind of turn them up and turn them down. Full ray tracing is basically like calculating all of the lighting in a scene simultaneously and applying it simultaneously. And you can really only do this with like a 4000 series RTX card with DLSS turned on. Like, there's no way to natively render this amount of lighting. Now, the thing is that I watched this trailer, Bryce, and you're watching it right now, and they keep showing you the difference between what it's like when you have RTX turned on and what it's like when you have RTX turned off. It's not that different. Like, it's a little different, but you know,
the thing with ray tracing, it's I've watched Digital Foundry's got a few videos about it. They've got a great video that is like, what is ray tracing? What does ray tracing look like? What are the results of ray tracing? Mm-hmm. And I can see what, especially because Cyberpunk was such a big focus about this, and the way that they implemented ray tracing. I can see what's going on in these comparisons, though. What you get with higher ray tracing is accuracy. You get accuracy of light diffusion and refraction, and when you can see, like, it's all about the little details, right? Like, under that little awning of the trailer there's a tiny shadow there that it wasn't otherwise calculating.
Right.
It's little accuracies, and it's tough from some of these, like, still shots and still moments. Like, look at this one. Like, in this room that we're looking at, it's like a little shack with a bar window shining into that room. That window shining on the floor should illuminate the whole room. That's what a direct sunlight on the floor does.
Right.
And you see that on this, like, I don't know if that's a newspaper or something, but that light refracts onto the paper. It refracts through and around the paper with this, like, glow. And so it looks, at first it looks like, oh, okay, they've, like, added more shadows and they made it more contrasty. But that's a function of accuracy.
Right.
And so that's all to say. I think these are really impressive comparisons, even if they are not, even if they look a little too crazy different.
Even if they're not immediately dramatically apparent. Yeah, I get that. I also like the fact that that they address the kind of the, like, frame rate stuff, mostly because stuff like this is really interesting to me, because this makes me even more excited for, like, I'm glad I held off playing Cyberpunk, because I'm waiting for this to also to become feature complete, where the DLC comes out. They're going to add new stuff. They're going to add new quests. They're going to keep adding stuff like this, or like the various enhancements that they've done so far. And then once the whole thing is done, then I can sit down with the final product and be like, okay, I'm going to experience this, like, fully, because this is, for anybody that's interested.
Nice. Sounds like that would be a fun. It sounds like a fun way to experience that game. Man, I wish I had that.
The thing is, what's really interesting though about this is, I know that a lot of people would be like, look at this and say, oh, well, I don't have a 4090, but, like, the thing is that this is one of those games that works on GeForce Now, and you could stream GeForce Now at 120 hertz if you have a monitor that can handle 120 hertz. Like, because if you upgrade the GeForce Now, this is not an ad, this is just something I think people should be aware of. If you upgrade GeForce Now to the one where you pay like $20 a month for the premium one, you get guaranteed access to servers running 4090 cards. And so the thing is that when they use that DLSS 3 and frame generation, you can jack up everything, and the game is running at like 150 frames per second. So if the faster the higher the frame rate, the less lag you detect when your mouse keyboard signal goes down to their data center and then comes back. So, like, I've played some games on GeForce Now, and, like, if you can get that frame rate jacked up high enough, it is indistinguishable from, like, just a regular PC game. So,
well, on the other side of the conversation about, like, what good is this? Like, this is there are not a lot of games that do full RTX ray tracing.
Yep.
And presumably that number will only go up. And it will become even easier to do, these unlimited or these trillions of ray simulations that it's doing. This is only going to get easier and better from here. It's only going to be more accessible from here on, and that's an exciting thing. Seeing these companies build these games in this way so that they can expand out as we get into 4K, 8K, fucking HDR, whatever you want.
Yeah. I do wish though that for this demonstration they had picked some of the neon-bathed light nighttime scenes that would have had more colored lights, because I think that would have demonstrated things a little bit better. But yeah,
I wonder if those were the ones they were already doing some ray tracing on.
Oh, possibly. Let's see. We also got a new trailer for Redfall, going over Layla's backstory for Redfall. So there are 4 Redfall characters. This is the lady that makes the. I don't know if people have been following this. This is the only way that I would know. This is the lady that makes the ghost elevator that pops you up in the air and also has like a spinny like ghost umbrella that blocks shots from other people. And they have like a little backstory where she's like out on a date with her friend, her buddy Jeremy or whatever, and the vampires grab Jeremy and then she fights him off, or Jason, not Jeremy. And she fights him off, and then she blasts him, and then they kind of show a little bit of her gameplay where they show her kind of summoning this like weird ghost elevator to pop up like really high in the air, and then using this umbrella. And then a little bit later on, they also showed that apparently Jason is still like her boyfriend, even though he's like a Nosferatu now that fights on her side. So she like summons him, and he's like a vampire that comes out and kills some
cool.
of the badass.
He looks cool. He's got fucking cool shades. He's a cool shades guy.
He reminds me of the guy from Sandman, right? The serial killer guy a little bit from Sandman. I'm really hoping that this game doesn't suck. I really, really hope that what Arcane said isn't a lie, that if you play it single player, it's just as fun and you can have a good time, and that it isn't just going to be like one of those ones that says you can play it single player, but it's not really very fun unless you're playing with friends. So,
yeah, like I had a really like mediocre experience with Back 4 Blood, and so when this was announced at a similar time as Back 4 Blood, being a like 4VE sort of game, like I'm kind of hesitant about this now. I think it's not a sure thing that a Left 4 Dead clone is going to be good.
Well, I think for me, what I want to know is that they've shown gameplay showing that, because this is Arcane, that it does have like vent crawler adventure DNA to it, where you can like take on areas by sneaking in a variety of different places, and you can set up like ambushes, and you can use their powers to like get to area, like some characters can get to areas that other players can't get to. So kind of some of that Dishonored, Prey DNA, but then also with this action thing, it's just I don't know. It really just could go either way. Like I've seen a bunch of games like this, and everything they're showing is great, but obviously when they do trailers, they don't show you they don't make trailers showing you the repetitive parts that aren't very fun. So
yeah.
Let's see. We got a combat gameplay walkthrough for The Last Case of Benedict Fox, a game that is coming out a little bit later. This is, I don't know if you remember this, Bryce, but this was the game where it's like a Lovecraftian Metroidvania with a main character that looks like Guybrush Threepwood, and it's set in like the 1910s in this like Victoria, or this like old mansion where this paranormal investigator is going back to find out the mystery of his cursed family. This shit is 100% up my alley, and they put out a demo for it a little while back, and we played it here on RageSelect, and like,
yeah,
it rules. Like, it's a fun action game. I love the art style, the kind of, again, almost like evil Monkey Island kind of style of gameplay. And so, yeah, it's got like action and also a bunch of exploration and stuff. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, I'm just being reminded of what was that 360 era game that they did, that Epic Games did?
Shadow Complex?
Yeah, which was like a great 2.5D, and like it looks a lot like that. Like the visuals look like, I'm into this. I was not into this when you first. I thought this was going to be like a like a Nancy Drew or like a very long franchise. Like it's the last case of the this looks cool.
Yeah, no, this was announced at like
now, but
I think it was announced either. It might have been at a Nintendo Direct or it might have been a PlayStation thing. I don't remember where it was first announced, but like they show a little bit later on this kind of going into like this shadow realm, and you've got like this flashlight that like counts down before you'll just get killed by the shadows. It's cool. Like I really want to just put it out there that I think this game looks great, and it's coming out in the last week of April. Like it's a full release in like 3 weeks, or 2 weeks. So, yeah, I really want this. I really want this sort of thing to do well because I want more weird Metroidvania games and fewer 4VE multiplayer games. So.
Well, we're gonna take the whole Snoopy franchise, Jeff, and we're gonna make a brawler fighter out of it. We're gonna love it.
Obviously, I call Pigpen. We got another trailer for the Mage Seeker, kind of showing off some of the stuff that's going on with this. This is one of those League of Legends spin-off games, and I forget who's making this. I think this might be the Children of Morta developers, and it looks like it's just that, like it's a top-down isometric kind of brawler that has some roguelike elements to it, and then you're gonna hire like different mages and customize your weapons and create different powers, and then kind of go through and kill people. I really dig what what Riot is doing with the whole League of Legends thing, where they just have like 5 games that are just complete and total spin-offs using the lore from League of Legends. But as you know what, this is a great answer to that question about Overwatch. Like, how cool would it be if Blizzard like went out to the Case of Benedict Fox guys and they were like, hey, do you want to make a Metroidvania with Genji? Do you want to make a Genji Metroidvania that explores Genji's backstory? And then they could go, yes. And then you would have a dedicated thing that didn't fuck around with your cash cow, give it to a different developer, give them the license, and then take a chunk of the profits and expand your universe a little bit.
The only reason I could see that not happening is that feels like a not Blizzard thing to do.
Yeah.
Like it feels like an Activision or a King thing to do, but maybe not a Blizzard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I bet you get into like, if people are already upset about any number of things they've gotten upset with Overwatch, then they're extracting resources away from the game to make all their spin-offs about the homosexual beer drinkers. I can see why maybe they didn't take this tack.
Yeah.
And why it works better for Riot.
Yep, I agree. I also think that the other games that they're developing look really good. There's like a fighting game. They've just got like a 2D or like a 2.5D like Street Fighter with all the League of Legends characters where they're just brawling, and there's like a couple of platforming action games. So we got the opening cinematic for Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine. This is the latest spin-off from the Super Meat Boy series, which is basically just a match 3. It's Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, but in the Meat Boy universe. I like this part of the podcast because Bryce doesn't know any of these things. He seems super excited about a lot of them.
I was worried because I hadn't watched the trailers this week, but I like this. I like this way more fun. This is okay. Yeah, let's fucking go. More mean beans. Let's go.
So, Dr. Fetus is waiting for the game to compile, and he's creating this little level. And it's kind of cool. I went and looked at like what the actual game looks like because it's just a little cinematic. It's cute. But it's just
Does it look like Bean Bean Machine?
I don't really know. Yes, maybe. It's definitely got like this kind of match 3 or match 4 chain vibe. Like it kind of reminds me of Puzzle Fighter because that's my main point of comparison. But
Puyo. I mean, like literally, it's also just Puyo.
Oh yeah. But with horrible little monsters from the Meat Boy series, and then also it looks like in this, we're watching just a little piece of gameplay. It looks like they've got a stage hazard with like these bars over the saw blades that you can't get past. So
that makes sense. That's a fun twist for this.
Yeah, and it looks like they're divided into different levels that have different kind of like geometry and stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. I only mentioned this because I didn't realize that this had already gone into early access. But last week or the week before at the Unreal Engine 5 talk from CES, they were talking about this game, Small Land: Survive the Wilds. It's like an Unreal Engine 5 thing where you play as it's basically like a serious version of like Grounded, where you're playing as these little Lilliputians that are coming out and like getting their armor on and fighting a bunch of bugs and squirrels and shit. But it's all on Unreal Engine 5. And apparently it's already in early access. Like it came out last week in early access. Like I swear at CES they were like, go check out the demo. But apparently, no, it's actually full on early access.
I mean, didn't Grounded basically come out as early access, more or less? Or like it was still in active development. So, yeah, I guess we're just seeing more of this. Yep. I don't know. How do you feel about that? That's
I don't like spiders. So every time they're like, do you want to fight really giant spiders? I'm like, not really. Not a super. I still get a little weird when I try to play Grounded and then the spiders show up and I get this real revulsion. I'm just like, I'm going to go back and play Metroid or something.
Have you tried the spider phobia mode where it like abstracts the spiders?
Yeah, I'm willing to own my weaknesses and just go play games that don't have giant spiders in them.
Fair enough.
Let's see. Speaking of a game that you and I have played, Goat Simulator 3 is getting an official Easter update. This is adding a few new like the Easter egg modes, and then also some like Ninja Turtle skins, some chicken skins, like an egg helmet that lets you turn into an egg, and just a bunch of crazy shit like this.
Pop-Tart cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glad to see that Goat Simulator 3 is just as absolutely ridiculous as ever.
Did I tell you after we recorded those two videos about Goat Simulator 3?
Mm-hmm.
After that, I went home and bought that game and then beat that game.
Oh, me too. Well, I had it, but I played it all the way to the end, and it was delightful.
It's fun.
It was delightful.
It was great. Yeah.
It was like 10 hours of goofiness, and I was like, yeah, great, perfect. So
yeah. Well, that's cool. That's clever.
Yep. It's Operation Crackdown. Also, I guess it should be worth noting that this video is coming out on Easter, so happy Easter if you made it this far.
Yeah. There you go.
This is an announcement. We get that One Piece Odyssey is getting an expansion called Reunion of Memories that had a teaser. I'm not entirely sure. This seems like it very much hinges on the plot of One Piece Odyssey, and I didn't really understand what was happening in One Piece Odyssey. Wait, did you and I play One Piece Odyssey as well?
We did,
yeah. This seems to kind of hinge on the lady that takes all your memories away at the beginning, and then there's like a dark version of her, and you're sent to a different alternate dimension or something. I don't know what's going on here, but
it's like an end game alternate map, I'm guessing, right? Like, oh, now we're in the
dark world.
We're in Old Link world,
right?
Yeah. That's at least. I don't know. But I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's out there is basically all I'll say. It's going to be coming out at some point. So if you're interested, go to it. This is the point of the podcast where I get tired. I'm just like, all right, let's go. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster did get their PS4 and Switch launch date announced later in April 19th. It appears that they have a new pixel font.
God, why did they fuck?
Because if you all remember the old, when they did the original, they put in this really skinny font and it sucked and everybody hated it. And they're like, well, we fixed that. We put in a new pixel font that is also too skinny and kind of sucks to look at. So good job fucking up Final Fantasy by just putting a bad font on it. Apparently, God. I didn't know this, Bryce, but apparently Final Fantasy VI, you know in Final Fantasy VI how they have the intro where you see Terra and the two guys walking in the mechs up to Narsh for the very beginning? Apparently they cut that part out. They cut that long, slow walking mech part out of the remasters when they put it out. Like, but why?
You just cut. It's that's part of the game. What the
right? It's like an iconic intro. Square. Come on, you guys. I just want to play Final Fantasy. Like, what are you doing to me here?
It's so hard. They're like, you can't. It's. I don't. They. Stop. Wow.
Yep. But anyway, you can play that later this month. Let's see. Wrapping it up, Vampire Survivors, as previously mentioned, is getting a fantasy-themed DLC called Tides of Foscari later this month. That'll be April 13th, and it is $2. I recommend everybody go buy it because Vampire Survivors kind of rules, and $2 is not a lot of money to spend on more content.
Mm-hmm. They've got the mobile version. The mobile version's like free to play or something, but I haven't spent enough time with it to see if it's like a bunch of ads or banner ads or something. That game is great.
There's a story that I did a little while back on that where the company that made Vampire Survivors, they made the mobile version because every developer that they tried to talk to about making it wanted to put ads and free to play stuff in it, and they didn't want any of that. So they just said, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. So I think that I don't know if the mobile version costs like $1 or $2, or if there's. I think
it's free to play. Or it's free to download for me, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something in there. There's some way you can pay in there that's clever. That's not like watch an ad. It's more of like if you want to unlock something, you can pay to unlock it if you really want to, or something like that. But
okay. That's cool.
Lion King's coming to Disney Dreamlight Valley. Okay. Scar was previously there, but now you're getting Nala and Simba coming in along with a new path and yada yada yada. I'm very shocked that this is still a thing, but I only ever talk about it here where I just say a thing is coming. God of War Ragnarok now has New Game Plus mode that also came with a bunch of new equipment and different armor sets. In fact, there's one that's just no armor called the Spartan set. That's just like it's no chest armor, so you get no perks or no stats, and it only stays at power level 1. So you can use that if you want to challenge, or you can like use it as a cosmetic on another armor. So if you want to play through the game with Kratos with his shirt off. Yeah, there's some fun stuff in here. I thought that game was entirely as I'm not the only person, everybody was like, this game is too long. It was dragged a little bit. So I'm not sure if I would want to go back and replay it unless there was a significant content update more than just like, go back and play it with upgraded stuff. So
New Game, I feel very weird about New Game Plus being this like common post-launch update. Like tentpole that just like these games are being live serviced because they're adding a New Game Plus. I'm not against it, but it's strange.
I think that New Game Plus to me made a lot more sense when you were playing a game that was 8 to 10 hours long, and if you really enjoyed it and you got to the end, you were like, man, that was so great. I'd love to just start over and like use all the progression that I got through this game and kick its ass. But when you're talking about like, Elden Ring is like 100 hours. Then like, okay, do you want to do New Game Plus now? And it's like, no, I want to go visit my children that I haven't seen for 6 months. Like, no. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Lords of the Fallen, during that CES thing, they made a change that I didn't see. So, okay, there was an RPG in 2014 called Lords of the Fallen, right? It was Dark Souls-alike. It was one of the earlier ones. It was okay. So that same company is making a new game called The Lords of the Fallen. And they've been putting out like technical stuff for it, showing off the way that the Unreal Engine works. And like what they're showing is pretty cool. There's some pretty cool. It's like got a regular world and then like a fucked up Gothic world that's like layered on top of it that comes up. And they showed in the Unreal Engine kind of how that works. But one of the things I didn't notice was that apparently they've dropped the from Lords of the Fallen remake, or this new game that is not a remake. It is not a sequel. it's just got the same name as their last game, and I'm like, cool, guys. I guess whatever. Not enough people really. I don't think anybody super duper cares, but it's still just like you put a colon on there. Lords of the Fallener, Lords of Refallen, or something like something to differentiate you.
I read that headline and thought it meant like, oh, it's called Lords of Fallen.
Oh,
like oh no, they just named the same. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea, and you're gonna regret it if you launch it like this. So I'm sure they know they don't want this to be the title either.
Yeah.
Please, if you can hear my voice, change it.
Listen to Bryce.
You are on the right path. Don't regret this. You will regret it a lot if you call it the same thing.
All right, let's talk some fun stuff. I got some Elden Ring mods. Bryce, I finally got a mod in case, you want to play Elden Ring. Oh, wait, they privated their video. Did they take it down? What happened, Garden of Eyes? What the heck is all this?
Do you have a few Call of Duty maps in there?
There's a modder called Garden of Eyes, and they made an Elden Ring DLs or an Elden Ring mod called the Broken AF Edition. Where are you? Okay, I'm not joining
on a Patreon.
Yeah, I don't know if I can see this. This is weird. I looked at this earlier today, and now it's like it's gone. It's been privated. I don't know if this
Isn't
does
that
things.
it? Garden of Eyes mod? Does Garden of Eyes have multiple mods?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm specifically looking for the Broken AF edition.
Was it an April Fool's thing?
Maybe, but let's see. So what it was instead of getting on your somebody's playing it here. Here's a streamer playing it. So instead of getting on your horse, you could turn into a fighter jet, and then you could just switch between like missiles or machine guns or a literal nuke that like nuked everything.
Oh no!
So
why did you do that?
I don't know. It was pretty fun. There's also a mode where you can use a tank.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could turn into a tank and you could just melt bosses. This is obviously truly broken AF, and made for just destroying everything in Elden Ring nonstop without anything. So I don't know. Interesting.
That wow. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, can you get weirder?
I've got maybe that's more of a
give me another mod.
That's more of a joke. This one's more real. This is a mod community that created this mod called the Elden Ring FPS, and it's basically makes Elden Ring work in first person, but it's not just like, well, we moved the camera to the first person. They actually did a lot of work to make sure that like rolling isn't nauseating, and that like when you get knocked back that it doesn't fly your viewpoint everywhere. Like they did work on the controls, and they did work on like the overall thing that makes it look like an actual real mode that could be in the game, and a lot more intense because of the amount of things that are coming right at you. Now I still think that like you would need to be experienced with Elden Ring to use this, because you would need to kind of know secondhand where to put your, like a lot of Elden Ring is spacing and timing, and you have to be able to know that spacing even if you're in the first person mode. Also, I can say, I'm having Bryce watch this right now. If you're actually at all interested in this, I recommend that you go just download it and don't watch this trailer called Elden Ring brackets FPS mod release trailer, because what is in here. This trailer is 3 minutes.
Are these like spoilers?
Oh my God, so many. They're showing like every ML, they're showing late game, they're showing end game, they're showing bosses that you don't get to for fucking 60 hours. Like they showed just about every single boss in the entire game in here, which is a good advertisement for your game, showing all the different areas and stuff to make it look really cool. But there's some stuff in here that I'm like, well, that's like the end game.
I mean, yeah, this is obviously got endgame, and it's a trailer, but this is you couldn't spoil an Elden Ring if you wanted to.
It's a bit true.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm stunned by this because Elden Ring in virtual reality.
Mm-hmm. They've done Soulsborns in VR before. I think that I don't think it.
But this is the one. This is Elden Ring VR.
I think it would be interesting to have an Elden Ring VR, but I think you would need to retune the difficulty of the entire game, and you'd have to make some changes to the overall mechanics of the game because, I mean, think about it. Elden Ring is 100 hours long, and your primary verb in Elden Ring is swinging your right arm with a sword or an axe or a thing in it. Like, you can't. You're gonna tire people out, man. You got
don't do like. Okay, so you don't do swinging, right? Like you have an attack button, or but it's looking at this. It just makes me think. This seems like it would be the right audience for a difficult, long VR game.
Sure.
This like even if you find ways to round off some of the edges, like this could be like how many other big VR games are there? And I just think that this is a trailer. It's supposed to look good, but
yeah.
This seems feasible in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I mean, actually, what's really interesting about it is that, you look at a From Software game in first person, and at least for me, the first thing that comes to mind is Kingsfield, right? Because From Software used to make first person fantasy stuff, and I've always thought that, like, it'd be really interesting if From decided to make Kingsfield like their VR franchise. They reboot Kingsfield and make that your dedicated VR. I mean, I definitely take your point though. Like as a killer app, having Elden Ring, if they did the work to make Elden Ring work in VR and give you enough controls to be able to do all of the spells and the bows and the two-handed weapons and the torches and
be a thing, yeah.
But you could do it, and I think that you could probably, like, hey, Sony's got a relationship with From Software. I bet you could sell more PSVR 2s than you could shake a stick at if you could get Elden Ring running full-on VR 2, Sony PSVR 2 exclusive.
Yeah. They got those Blue Point guys. Those guys know how to make ports.
Yep. I think that... I think the main thing you'd have to do is just make sure to put in a difficulty slider, and that no Souls fan will ever want a difficulty slider. All right. Basically, at the end of here, we also had, I thought this was a fun thing. Christopher Judge, the man who voices Kratos, won the best performer in a leading role at the BAFTAs for God of War. He had like a 5-minute acceptance speech, and part of the end of his acceptance speech was him directly addressing gamers, saying, "Thank you to the fans. Be easier on each other. You have more in common than what separates you. No matter what platform you love, no matter what game you love, you're still part of the gaming community, and give each other a break." And I can wholeheartedly endorse this. Like, just take a break.
Just cool off. Fucking be cool. What's wrong with you? Get it. Just get it. Be cool.
Look, do what I do. You get a 6-pack of beer. You got 6 animes. There's a lot of animes you can watch. You get
now it's only 6.
Well, most people aren't ready for the beer, for the bonus beer. The bonus, you got to work up to bonus beer. Also, you have to find a place that'll sell you 1 beer extra. I've told this to people before, Bryce, and I've had people say to my face, they're like, I'm like physically repulsed by what you just said. You're going to drink 7 beers. You're not going to drink a 6-pack. You're not going to drink a 12-pack. You're going to drink an odd number of beers. And I'm like, yeah, it's also a prime number. Look at that. Anyway, that's the podcast. We're done. We did it. Hey. Bryce, what do you want to shout out this week? Is this your new movie podcast? We talk about Metropolis for live tweeting Metropolis.
The Metropolis pod will be dropping soon. Please check out marbles.win. It's a website. I do a virtual marbles racing league, and we just wrapped up our 5th season, and we'll have our 6th season starting soon. But if you want to find out when those dates are going to be, when the schedule goes out, when the Google Calendar's there's an email list and a Discord that you can join. So if you're interested, there's a lot of ways to follow. It's a lot of fun. It's free. It's easy. And it's a great time.
Cool. And you already know where you are. RageSelect, you know it already. Maybe if you got all the way to the end, maybe you want to go to patreon.com/RageSelect. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to kick a couple of bucks in the coffer. The podcast, Bryce can tell you, I put an unreasonable amount of news stories into this stupid podcast every week. So if you're just a podcast listener, you're still getting the benefits of $5 a month, so that I have the time to be able to look at all this podcast stuff.
Yeah.
So that's it. Have a good week. Bye. Bye. Woo.